गुरुर्देवो महेश्वर गुरुर्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमुद्भूतां व्यासशङ्करमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परा। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय हरये परमात्मने प्रणतक्लेशनाशाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण सर्वज्ञत्वं प्रसीद मे रमारमण विश्वेश विद्यामाशु प्रयच्छ मे। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे ज्ञानरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। प्रज्ञानां सुप्रदाने स्थिरचरनिकरव्याभिर्व्याप्य लोकान् भुक्त्वा भोगान् सविष्टान् पुनरभिधिषणोद्भासितान् कामजन्य पीत्वा सर्वान् विशेषान् स्वपदि मधुरभुङ् मायया भोजयन्न मायासङ्ख्यातुरीयं परममृतमजं ब्रह्म यत्तन्नतोऽस्मि। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। On this occasion of Guru Purnima, let us bring this knowledge as the dominant thought. Who am I? What is my true purpose in life? Beyond the attributes of the body, beyond the prarabdhams that I have in this life, what is my true purpose in this life? Is there a different dimension that I need to think beyond what I do in this vyavaharika loka? Let's take this as a dominant thought and seek all the blessings of Shastram, Guru Parampara and that Parabrahma Tattvam to make progress in this journey. With this conviction, let's open our eyes. Hari Om once again to all of you. I hope you all can hear me, see me. I'm not able to see all of you. It's okay. As you all know, today is Guru Purnima. Guru, the term Guru or the word Guru, Gu and Ru. Gu is Andhagara or darkness. Ru is the way or the dimension of removal of the darkness. When I say darkness, darkness is all about the ignorance. What is the ignorance? Ignorance is all about not understanding the reality or the forces that are making us not to understand this principle. So that's where Guru's role is important. Ru is all about removal of the darkness. Andhagara nirodhitva Gururityabhidiyate. The one who removes the darkness, dispels the darkness, the one who shows the right direction, the one who shows the right path. Guru is also referred as Deshika, the one who shows the disha, the one who shows the direction. And the attributes of a guru, as per the Upanishad, Guru should be a Shrotriyan, Guru should be a Brahmajnani. So here, our Guru, the great Guru Parambara, the Rishi Parambara, the Bhagavan, Bhashyakaran, Adi Shankara Bhagavad Pada, Bhagavan Krishna, they are our Guru. The Guru's characteristics, as I mentioned, Shrotriyan, Brahmanishta. Brahmajnani, the one who has got this knowledge as well as the one who has realized this, the one who has realized this truth. So the one who can show the right direction, the one who can do a full awakening in us towards achieving the goal. What is that goal? The goal is all about realizing the true self. We call it as Atma Sakshatkaram, Brahma Sakshatkaram, Ishvara Sakshatkaram, Moksha, Mukti, inner freedom, different ways that we express this. And Srimad Bhagavata again says that Vadanti tat tattva vidaha yat tattvam jnanam advayam brahmedi paramatmedi bhagavan idi shabdeti. This truth which is within you, and it is not different from the universal truth, and that truth is referred by different names. Brahmedi paramatmedi bhagavan idi shabdeti. So what we need to do, we need to understand the reality behind the mind. We can reach or we can comprehend up till the level of mind, because we can see the body, we can see the intellect, we can see the mind, we can see the changes happening in us, and we think that I am this mind. So where is the mind in the deep sleep? The mind is not existing. The mind has merged into that reality. So who am I then? I still exist. When you come out of the Sushupti Avastha, when you come out of the deep sleep, there is no change in you. You still exist. You are the one who experienced the deep sleep. You are the one who experienced that joy in the deep sleep, though ignorance is prevailing. So I cannot be the mind. If I am the mind, then in the deep sleep, mind did not exist. I do have the existence. I cannot be the mind. And again, you are able to see the changes happening in the mind, isn't it? You can say that the emotions are changing. I was really happy in the morning, now I am not happy. I need to control my mind. Who is witnessing that mind needs to be controlled? Who is witnessing that the mind is undergoing changes? So mind is just an instrument of perception, right? That is what Bhagavad Pada says in the Nirvana Shaka. Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham nacha srotra jihve nacha krana netre nacha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu chidananta rupa shivoham shivoham. We may think that the subtler aspects such as the manasa, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, all those things, like I cannot be any of those. They all process the different, sensory inputs. They generate thoughts and emotions, etc. But where are they existing? There is no independent existence. As I mentioned in the today's Dhyanam, Chadusloki Bhagavatam, Anvaya Vedireka Bhava, right? For these changes to happen, there needs to be something which is changeless. So I cannot be the small I. When I say small I, all these sensory inputs or the senses, or including the body, mind, intellect, or the different bhavam of the mind, manasa, buddhi, chittam, ahangaram, I cannot be the small I. I need to be something beyond and behind this. Mind is just a sukshma sharira, it is subtle body. And that mind is subject to changes, right? You all know that. So who am I then? I am this witness who is changing or who is observing the activities of the mind. And I am the one which is observing, not only observing, and I am not affected by them. What is getting affected is the mind, but I am not getting affected by them. Because I can even say that, yeah, these things happened, but I need to overcome. I saw this, now I am out of this. Who is the one which is not having the kalangam? You, the witness, is the one who is not having any of the impurities. But unfortunately, what happens is the mind has got a specific quality of reflecting the consciousness, the original consciousness, the Chaitanyam. You are the Chaitanyam. What mind does is basically, mind is able to borrow the consciousness and reflect the consciousness. And reflection happens in this reflecting medium, so called as the body. So mind reflects, mind borrows the consciousness, mind reflects that light of pure consciousness through this body. So that is where with our capabilities we are not able to go beyond and behind the mind. Up till mind we are able to go, because the reflection happens at the plane of the mind. Similarly, you know this, you know the principle of how moon creates the light. Is the moon really creating the light? What moon does is basically borrows the light from the sun, right? It doesn't produce its own light. Similarly, the mind reflects the awareness of the Atman, but mind cannot independently exist. So, the first step towards this jnanam, towards this self-realization is, my true self cannot be the mind. I am the pure consciousness. I am that witness, which is not the body, mind, intellect, sense. And this is the Shraddha, this is the Atma Vicharam one has to have. But I am not fully equipped to comprehend, though I know that my true nature is the pure consciousness, but the influence of the objects that includes the body, mind, intellect, and my vasanas, all my traits that I have, be it attachment, aversion, desires, enjoyership, doership, many things are there. There are different layers of vasanas. There are different layers of stains that we have on the top of this truth. So that is where one needs the Atma Nivedanam, or we call it as Bhakti. Atma Nivedanam for what? Atma Nivedanam to cut across these different layers of Ajnanam and reach there. So that is where the bhakti towards the higher self is needed. And that bhakti usually can happen through the Saguna Upasana, because our mind cannot comprehend a Nirguna Brahman. A mind cannot comprehend something that cannot be objectified. That is where we use the Upasanas. You use the Upasana Murtis. You do the worship. You do the deity worships, right? Srimad Bhagavata again says the Nava Vida Bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. Prahlada Kumaran says the Navavida Bhakti in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, to realize the higher truth, that higher truth is not different from your true self, but what you need is basically the bad influence of the different layers that we have, the real layers. When I say the vasanas, the influence of the objects, all the objects that we deal, plus the samskriti or samskaram that you have as a jiva. So that's where our Shastram and Guru Parampara equips us with this Bhakti, Jnana, Vairagya. And our Sampradayam says that whatever you do, but don't just get lost in the objective world. Your ultimate purpose in life is not to just do or go with the Pravritti Margam alone. Shruti says, Dividohi Vedokto Dharma Pravritti Lakshano Nivritti Lakshanacha. When you do the pravritti, ensure that you also have the path of nivritti. Pravritti is all about action. Pravritti is all about action-oriented lifestyle. You cannot run away from life. Especially as karma yogis or grihastha ashramis, we cannot run away. But what you need to do, you need to inculcate the habit of a sannyasi there. You need to have the nivritti. You need to have the capability to withdraw. You need to have the capability to cultivate shanti, peace, everything. When I say cultivate, that is also not right. You are that actually. You need to carefully coach the mind in terms of withdrawing from the objective world. Again, our Shastram says that as a grahasthasrami, your home should be a tapovana. Nivarta ragasya graham tapovana. The home should be a place, a sacred place. Sacred place for what? Sacred place for the self-conquest and the self-mastery. So that is where, you will also appreciate. In the olden days, your main puja, or in another term, I can say all the Tevara, Sampradaya, all used to happen in the kitchen. Kitchen, right? And the home should be an ashramam, should be a tapovanam. It should be a sacred place. For what? For understanding your own profound dimensions. And you need to do the puja, do the systems then and there. It starts from the kitchen. And you need to do the different sampradayam for realizing that, including your sandhya vandanam, etc. And the grahasthasrami, when you as a grahasthasrami, you also should ensure that whatever you do, the speech, the thoughts, the actions, everything should be equipped in such a way that you are trying to understand the inner divinity and also expressing that in the form of speech, in the form of thoughts, in the form of actions. That's why I'm saying the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the initial dhyanam that we conducted today, Bhagavan Sarva Bhudanam Adhyaksho Avasthido Guha. So the master is within you. The consistent connect that you have with your own self. This is Karma Yoga. In another way, we can say Bhikshuvada Prasarana Nyayam, divinizing your own self, divinizing your own life. When I say divinizing, it's all about building the noble characters. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, you know, the Devasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, all the virtues that you need. Or if you see the Samadhi, Shatka, Sambati, we have seen all those. What one needs is moderation in life. What one needs is the wise self-control. See, these two attributes, the moderation and the self-control, should be the keynote of our life in everything. So that is where a graham should be converted to a tapovana. We cannot be a grahastha. We need to be a grahastha ashrami. So we need to do the pravarti, but do the pravarti in the way of or through the path of karma yoga. That's where Bhagavan says in the 3rd chapter, all the nisangada, nishkamyada, prasada buddhi, the sharanagati, the prabhati, the surrender. And internally you need to be a sannyasi. Bhagavan in 5th chapter says, Jnanam sannyasa lakshanam. This is an internal transformation that you need to do. So withdrawal, internally withdrawing the things. It is not outwardly withdrawing. Bhagavan in the 5th chapter, if I remember correctly, 5th chapter, 11th verse, says that Kayena manasa buddhya kevalair indriyairavi yogina karma kurvandi sangam tyakta atma shuddhaye. For what? Sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye. You do the karmam kayena manasa buddhya kevalair indriyairavi yogina karma kurvandi sangam tyakta atma shuddhaye. You do the karmam as a karma yogam. And why you need to do the karma yogam? It is for the atma shuddhi, for the manas shuddhi. And in the 5th chapter, Bhagavan says that sannyasam is all about sannyaso nirmalam jnanam. So that's where the dimensions of the sixfold wealth, if you remember, Shamadhi Shatka Sampati, the Shamam Damam, Uparadi, Shraddha, Tidiksha, Samadhanam, all those things which we have seen in our previous sessions, will enrich the path of Karma Yoga. These are different techniques, but what you need is basically the Shraddha and Bhakti. With Bhakti, because surrender is needed, then only it becomes Karma Yoga. Otherwise, it becomes a Karma Roga. It cannot be Karma Yoga. One should have the mind control, one should have the sense control, one should also have the cessation of worldly longings. The Shraddha is needed. Shraddha is all about Bhagavat Smarana. Constant connect, the continuous connect. Again, Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita, I am the thread. My sarvavidam prodam sutre maniganaiva. I am the constant thread that connects everything. So, and that intelligence is within you. Bhagavan sarvabhudanam adhyaksho avastito guham. That truth is not outside. So what one needs to have is the continuous remembrance of that truth. So once you get elevated to that level, the other problems that will come, such as the worldly objects may not give always good things, right? Because you cannot anticipate always good. So that is where you need to have endurance, you need to have tolerance, tidiksha. In the 2nd chapter, Bhagavan gives this great advice to Arjuna. You need to have matras parshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada agama paino anitya tantitikshasva bharata. Hey Arjuna, you need to understand that these things will come and go. Don't get carried away. These all are agama paino anitya. These all are anitya. So titiksha, samadhanam. Samadhana is all about fixing in that principle. Always you fix the mind to that principle. So when I say karma yogam, bhakti is completely implied there. So Shraddha Bhakti, when I say Shraddha Bhakti Karma Yogam, Bhakti Yogam is completely implied in the Karma Yoga. So I have a different view here in terms of there is a grow model which is used commonly in the management area. Grow is all about G stands for G is for goal, G for goal, R for the reality, O stands for the option, and W stands for the will. We should have this grow model in life. G stands for goal. What is the goal? Goal is all about knowing the highest truth. Goal is all about knowing the true potential, understand and explore that potential. So what one needs is the mumukshutva, the desire to know. That is where the goal, G. R is about the reality. The reality is all about the true self. You are the true self, and through jnanam you realize the reality. So jnanam comes through two ways. Jnanam comes through the discrimination and dispassion. Discrimination, if you remember, nitya anitya vastu vivek. What is really permanent in this world? What is not permanent? Is my body permanent? Is my capabilities or the skills are going to be permanent? Is my relationships are going to be permanent in life? Is my wealth is going to be permanent? Is the position that I have in my life or the different positions or power that you have in this life, are they all permanent? They all are anitya. So what is nityam? You the witness, you the unchanging substratum is the constant. Take refuge in that. Decouple from the worldly objects and take refuge. Take the abhayam in that. So before taking the abhayam, knowing the nitya anitya vastu vivekam, that is what is called as discrimination. Discrimination as the first step, and dispassion is called as vairagyam. When I say vairagyam is not having enmity or running away from life. Vairagyam is all about detach from the objects, detach from the anitya vastu and attach to the nitya vastu. Anvaya vyatiregabhyam etyat sarvatra sarvada. Hey Brahma, you understand what is the truth, what is the permanent, and take refuge in that. You know that. You give importance to that. So G is the goal, R is the reality. Through jnanam one gets this knowledge, and option. There are ways to get this. One can do karma yogam, one can do bhakti yogam, one can do raja yogam, one can do the jnana yogam. But according to Srimad Bhagavad Gita, there are only two paths. Jnana yogena sankyana, karma yogena yogina. So bhakti is implied, and the purity of mind is also needed, whether it is karma yogam or jnana yogam. You need to be a yogi. You need to have bhakti. Bhakti has to be implied in that. It has to be inherent. Because only through bhakti jnanam comes. Bhaktya jnanam prajayate. So option, whatever path you want, karma, bhakti, raja, jnanam. But there are only two main highways. The karma yogam for the grihasthaashramis and the jnana yogam, the sannyasa margam, for the people who are not having karmam to do. So ultimately, yogam only will exist. Goals, reality, goal, reality, option, and will. Will is what? Will is all about the self-realization. So what one needs is Shraddha, then one should have the bhakti and aim for the jnanam. These all, before getting the jnanam, the path, whatever you do, they all are enablers. Jnana yogyada prapti, not the jnana prapti. Jnana yogyada prapti is the kind of margam, but lakshyam is all about jnana. Jnanam is all about self-realization. With that, let us get into Bhajagovindam. Before we start the sloga today, concentration of mind. This is what I was referring. Shraddha is needed. Dharana. Without a pure mind, without the Antakarana Shuddhi, we cannot or we will not be able to concentrate. So, Shraddha, Bhakti, and Jnanam is what we are trying to aim. But for Jnanam, we need to have the essential dimension of Dhyanam coming there. Through Dhyanam only the strength is going to happen. In the Ashtanga Yoga, you know this. Dharana, Dhyanam, Samadhi, etc. I will try to club all those terms as a single one here. Say that Dhyanam is all about the deep absorption that we need to have. The mind has to deeply absorb the truth. For that, what we need to do is the mind should be made clear. So you all appreciate the reflection of a pure glass. Right? If the glass is dirty, will the reflection be pure? Will the reflection be correct? So the glass should be clean. So Shraddha will start from the concentration of the mind towards the higher aspiration and the purity of the mind. The purity will happen when you do the karma yogam as a prasada bhavena. What happens is ultimately the karma yogam is creating the antakarana shuddhi, because there is no outcome oriented desires there. When I say outcome oriented, you are not completely preoccupied with the outcomes that are going to happen. You are focused only on doing the duty, and you have already surrendered. The Saranagati has already happened. So there is no preoccupation of the results, and you are otherwise also you are not bothered because you are doing everything for the Lord. So then the question of mind getting stained will not happen. When we do the karmam, please understand that the 4 kalangams are going to happen. Whenever you do a transaction, the 4 kalangams are going to happen. What are those 4 kalangams? For the 4 stains: ragam, dvesham, kartrutvam, bhoktrutvam. Desire, or I would say aversion, attachment, enjoyership, bhoktrutvam, doership, kartrutvam. So these 4 things are going to come out of any transaction. And in the or at the plane of vyavaharam, at the plane of transaction, we cannot get rid of this, because you are the one who is executing. You cannot say that I am not executing. So at the plane of transaction, you need to have this. But in your inner plane, you cannot absorb these things. Your mind has to be so pure that none of these kalangams, none of these stains are getting accumulated into the mind. Nothing gets accumulated into the karma vasana, the kind of baggage that you have. You cannot add it into that baggage. So that is where the karma becomes a karma yogam. So your antakaranam is clear, the mind is clean. Mind is becoming like a clean glass. So when the glass is clean, the reflection is also clean. As I mentioned before, the mind is borrowing the consciousness and reflecting. And if the mind is pure, the reflection is also going to be pure. There is no impression. Verse number 18 of Bhajagovindam, I think about till 17 we covered last time. Sundara Mandira Tarumula Nivasa Shayya Bhutalam Ajinam Vasa Sarva Parigraha Bhogatyaga Kasya Sukham Nakaroti Viraga Bhajagovindam Bhajagovindam, Govindam Bhajamudhamate. Sundara Mandira Taru Mula Nivasa, Shayya Bhudalam Ajinam Vasa, Sarva Parigraha Bhogatyagaha Kasya Sukham Na Karodi Viraga. So here, if you remember in the last verse, or maybe the last but one, was talking about a sannyasi who has not come out of the asha pasha na munchadi. So now this verse is basically bringing a picture of a true yogi, a one who has or who is doing the real renunciation. So this verse is contributed by Bhagavan Bhashyagaran Adi Shankara Bhagavad Pada's Shishya Suresh Rajacharya. So what this slogam is trying to give is depicting a picture of a true sannyasi. Here, Sarva Parigraha Bhoga Tyaga Kasya Sukham Na Karoti Viraga. The real renunciation only will bring peace or happiness. Idam Namama. If the mind is not having this quality, what happens is basically the mind is going to be always restless. When the mind is restless, we need to understand that. So in Sanskrit, the term is called as aswasthada. Aswasthada. You might have heard this. Aswasthada is all about not having sustiti. When you drift away from the sustiti, the aswasthada comes in life. When you are not at the core, when you are not at the center, when you are not self-centered, and that centeredness has got drifted to the plane of mind and the worldly objects, that is where this restlessness, this aswasthada comes. So what one has to do is basically recalibrate the mind to go back to the root. Sustiti. Swaswarupa anusandhanam bhakti rityabhidiyade. Narada Bhakti Sutram says that. So you need to bring back the mind to the true center. Otherwise what happens is restlessness will come. You will be prone to do the comparing and contrasting and get lost into those things. So here the real sannyasi, he lives, when I use he, don't get confused, for the sake of using I am using. He lives under a tree. He lives under a tree. Devalaya. Okay. Mula Nivasa, Shaya Bhudala, Ajinam Vasa. Okay. So the real sannyasi lives under the tree of a temple premise, or Shaya Bhudalam Ajinam Vasa, or his bed is going to be a bare ground. Shaya Bhudala Ajinam Vasa Sarva Parigraha Bhogatyaga Kasya Sukham Na Karodi Virag. So, and the dress is maybe a deer skin. When I say deer skin, don't get or don't try to literally go with those. Don't literally go with those, terms. The meaning here is the yogi has given up all the desires of worldly possession and enjoyment. Right? So the worldly possessions and enjoyment and the urge to have the earthly pleasures are not dominating in such a person. If that is a scenario, the question here is, will there be true happiness when there is absolute renunciation? One way you need to interpret this verse is, it is not something like you need to change your home to under the people tree of a temple. Not like that. Don't literally go with that. What the sloga says is all about minimalism, having simplicity in life, having happiness in life irrespective of the external world. Don't have a dependency on the external world for you to be happy. The real mine of happiness is within you. Within your own being is the happiness, because that is the mine of happiness. Sada Chida Ananda. That is the mine of happiness. Shruti again says that is the source of happiness, and that source of happiness is within you. Hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahma matram. In deep sleep, you are always having happiness. When there are no objects, you are with the subject. So it means that you don't need objects to be happy in life, because your true self is the embodiment of that perfection. But it is very difficult, because the mind is always in the mode of comparing and contrasting. In the Amrutavindu Upanishad, there is a verse, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. Bandhaya vishaya saktam muktam nirvishayam smrudam. So the mind is the reason for the bandhagaratva and moksha. Mind is the reason for either going up or going down. Bhagavan in Bhagavad Gita again says, Uddared atmanatmanam na atmanam avasade atmaiva hi atmano bindu atmaiva rivuratman. You do have the potential within you to elevate yourself, uplift yourself, or downgrade yourself. So the mind is again the element or the avenue or the instrument for you to get bonded in life or to get free. Bandhaya vishaya saktam muktam nirvishayam smrudam. So when you have more and more vishaya sakti, you will get into the trap of desire. Otherwise, muktam nirvishayam smrudam. If you are in the path of desirelessness, then there is no mamakaratva. Things will just happen through you, because you are not going to possess things. Actually, you are not going to take the elements of enjoyership, doership, desire, aversion, attachment, all those things. It just happens, because karma yogam is all about you are just becoming an equipment. Nimitta matram bhava savya sajin. Hey Arjuna, you are just a nimittam. Similarly, we all are a nimittam in this world. Bhagavan in the third chapter, Karma Yogam says, Yastu atmaradi revasyad atma truptascha manava atmanyevacha santushtattasya karyam na vidyate. The real happiness is all about the internal state. It is beyond the mind. You need to go, you need to transcend. So no one can disturb the peace of mind. No one can disturb you. Mentally renounce all the idea of possession. Mentally only. I am not saying that you give all the wealth to me. Will you give if I ask? Just mentally. You are not affected. Not disturbed by the absence of anything. And you are not preoccupied from these possessions or obligations or the transactions or the relations and all those. You are not preoccupied. Mentally renounce. Sarva parigraha bhogatyaga kasya sukham na karudi virat. The more you renounce mentally, the more you are free. Again in the second chapter, Sankhya Yogam, 55th. Prajahadi yada kaman sarvan partha manogadan atmanyeva atmana tushta sthita prajna tad uchyade. Who is a Sthita Prajnan? The one who is satisfied in the self. Or Bhagavad Gita calls as the man of steady wisdom. The man who has got the inner maturity. The man who has got the inner growth. The man who has got the inner wisdom. So here, the verse is talking about a real yogi. And don't think that this verse is talking about a sannyasi who is not relevant in our life. You yourself should become a sannyasi, because sannyasam is all about jnanam, sannyasa lakshanam. Pravritti is at one side, but you need to do the nivritti. Nivritti is all about you being a sannyasi. 19th verse. Yogarato va bhogarato va sangarato va sangavihina yasya brahmani ramate chittam nandadi 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 eva Bhajagovindam Bhajagovindam Govindam bhaja mudhamate. So here, yogaradova, bhogaradova. So whether you are immersed, maybe you will be immersed in yogam, you will be immersed in bhogam. When I say bhogam, bhogam is all about the indulgence in the world, indulgence in the worldly pleasures. Because we at times, because this is the nature of the grahasthasrama, you have to be in the world. You cannot run away from this world. So sometimes you will be immersed in yoga, sometimes you will be immersed in the worldly pleasures, or sometimes sangaradova, sangavihina, sometimes you are in the company of the worldly people, company of others. Sometimes you are alone, you must be doing meditation, sometimes you will be doing the upasana. Right? Whatever is the case, yasya brahmani ramade chittam nandadi 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 eva. So here, he will alone experience the bliss where his mind nandadi 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 eva ramade chittam, when the mind, whose mind delights in Brahman. So you may do worldly things, you may do spiritual things, you may do external activities as a part of your day-to-day affair, but those are not the ultimate concern, right? Or even sangaradova, sangavihina. You may be attached to social or material engagements, or you may be totally detached. That is not the main issue. The main thing is, the crucial point is the focus of mind, the Shraddha. If the mind is absorbed in Brahman, the ultimate reality, that is what truly matters, nothing else. So here, again Shruti says that the Lord is having another nanartham, another term, upadrishta. Upadrishta meaning somebody who is permanently available. Upadrishta, Upanishad, sitting near and telling. Upadrishta, sitting near and seeing or driving. Sarva Bhudanam Adhyaksho Avastito Bhuva. The one who is always there as your master, who is always with you. So what matters is basically the mind having the Shraddha to that higher intelligence. But that is only is going to matter. The mind is always connected to the ultimate reality, the permanent connect, and that is always available, Upadrishta. So Nandadi, Nandadi, Nandadi Eva, such a person whose mind is immersed in divine consciousness of Brahman, experience the true joy and bliss, irrespective of their internal or external circumstances or actions. The inner focus. So the inner focus, when the mind is Brahmani ramade chittam. When the mind is completely attuned with that state, when I say state, with that reality, the flow of happiness or fulfillment will happen in life. And the ultimate reality is the Brahman. You are that Brahman. And you are beyond all the dualities of whether it is yogam or bhogam or sangha radham or sangha vihinam, attachment or detachment or yoga or bhoga or all the dualities. You are the ultimate reality. The true joy or the bliss comes from within. When the mind is absorbed in that divine, and when the mind is not going after the external circumstances or actions. Next verse number 20. You all know this. Bhagavad Gita Kinchidadhita Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita Sakrutabhiyena Murari Samarcha Kriyade Tasya Yamena Na Charcha Bhajagovindam Govindam Bhajamudhamate. Three things. Bhagavad Gita Kinchidadhita. Bhagavad Gita Swadhyayam. Because Bhagavad Gita is referred here, Bhagavad Gita is the Sarva Vedanta Sara Sangraham. It is easy to go with Bhagavad Gita if you don't have time to do the Swadhyayam of Veda Upanishads, because Upanishads are in vast numbers, and if you go through all 4 Vedas, it takes time because everybody is busy in this world. Everyone needs the instant realization, ready to cook, ready to consume. So if you do the Bhagavad Gita Swadhyayam or Ganga Jalapanam, meaning the consumption of the Ganga Jalam, I will come to that later. And here Murari Samarcha, here we need to understand that Ishta Devada Upasana, as I mentioned in the beginning, Saguna Upasana. These 3 things only will uplift us or bring the Atma Vikasam in us. The 3 sadhanas. One is basically, when I say Bhagavad Gita Swadhyaya, the scriptural studies. We need to study on a daily basis. Scriptural studies. So here, take scripture as Bhagavad Gita Swadhyaya, Ganga Jalapanam, and the Ishtadevada Upasana. For what? For your own self-upliftment, Atma Vikasam. And Gita, as I mentioned, Sarva Upanishad Saram, Sarva Vedanta Sara Sangraha Bhudam. Samasta Vedartha Sara Sangraha Bhudam Gita Shastra. That is what Bhashyagaram says. Ganga Snanam or Ganga Jalapanam, when you say, it is all about the punyam that you need to get. When you say Ganga Snanam is punyam, Papa Nashini Ganga or Punya Vardhini Ganga, that the drops of Ganga is like the Paramatma Tattva. This is the vast. The one who consumes the Jala Lava Kanika, meaning the drop, right? The Ganga Darshanam or Snanam is considered as Punyam, and Ganga should also be considered here as the Paramatma Tattvam, the vast principle. If you touch that, if you consume a little bit, you are on the right path of Atma Sakshatkara. So you will get the Atma Sakshatkara Mahima when you touch the Ganga, when you consume Ganga in a small capacity, in whatever capacity. But Leva Kanika meaning a small portion of Ganga, right? Either as Darshanam or Snanam or consuming Don't literally go with that. Again, Ganga is the Paramatma Tattva. When you touch, when you are trying to understand, how? Through the satsanga. So, through the satsanga samskaram, you are trying to understand the Paramatma Tattvam, and you are trying to appreciate the Atma Sakshatkara Mahima. Now coming to the third, Murari Samarcha. Murari here we need to understand in different ways. Bhagavan Krishna is the Murari here, or in another way, Muran meaning in Sanskrita is Ahangaram or Mamata, or in another way, the Asuriya Bhavam, meaning in the Rakshasa Bhavam, or we can say from another dimension, Muram meaning the objects that includes your body, mind, intellect, sense complex. So Murari Samarcha meaning the Ishvara Aradhana or the Sadhana, the bhakti that is needed to overcome the ahanda, the bhakti that is needed to overcome the objective world botherations, to overcome the ahanda, right? With a focus in our goal. What is the goal? Goal is all about jnana prapti. So when you have the Murari Samarcha, meaning you are on the path of bhakti, jnana, vairagyam, and you are able to transcend from the lower I to the higher I. So what are these things needed? Shastra Padanam, Lakshya Bodham, and the sadhana. What will happen? Kriyade tasya yamena na charcha. So that will overcome the fear of death, the marana bhayam, get rid of marana bhayam. Maranam is all about, something which is having the parinama. And parinamam is there for the body, parinamam is there for the mind, parinamam is there for the intellect. Asti jayade varthade vivaranavade abhakshiyade vinashyati. So these are the different stages of, the stages that our body, mind, intellect, sense, all the prakritis will undergo. So Prakriti will undergo the Parinama. But you are the Aparinami. You, the self, is the Aparinami. You are the immortal. So then, where is the question of death? Kriyate tasya yamena na charcha. There is not even a question of, having a charcha with Yama. There is not even a question of fear or afraid or the fear factor coming in life. Srimad Bhagavatam in the Ekadasha Skandam, Bhayam didiyabhiniveshadasyad ishad apedasya viparyayo smati. Bhayam comes when you are thinking that you are different from that self, when you are different from that immortal aparinami. When you drift your focus from the center and when you position it into the objective world, obviously you need to be afraid in life. Ishada vedasya vivaryayo smriti. Yeah, because God is something which is out. You are different from that. Then you need to really bother. So now, where is the question of death? When you are in the path of bhakti, jnana, vairagyam, shraddha, bhakti, jnana, vairagyam, and when you have the culture of shastra padanam, lakshya bodham, sadhana, you will reach to that goal. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Kayena vacha manasendriyarva buddhyatmana va prakriti svabhavat karomi yat sakalam parasmai narayanaayeti samarpayami sarvam narayanaayeti samarpayami. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.